For those who don't know, Pokemon Go, or Niantic, the company, released a statement that they were going to basically de-incentivize remote raids. So basically, for one thing, they're upping the price from previously 100 coins for one pass to 200. So they're doubling it basically. And then they're making the 3-pack basically $5 instead of like $3. So there's a lot to unpack. I was just going to start by going through the article itself. But yeah, people are very upset. I am very upset. And I've already made some decisions. I'm already decided to not play Pokemon Go as much. But basically to go through the article. So they're giving a heads up, 1 week heads up of these major changes to how this game works. And they'll happen April 6th. So literally next Thursday night. Or not even next Thursday night. Next Thursday afternoon. Goodness. They're not even doing it like at midnight their time. They're doing it, no, middle of the day. No change. Basically, to summarize it all up, and then we can get into all the discourse. The price of the remote raid pass is going up to 525 coins, previously 300. Price of one pass is going up to 195 coins, so almost double what it used to be, so 100. A premium battle pass, just a regular pass, will be discounted at 250. So normally, if you got like a regular one where you have to actually walk up to the place, it would be 300 coins. Now it's 50 cents less, which is honestly like just like a little band-aid over this like huge wound, in my opinion. Now here are the big things. Here are the things everyone is upset about mainly. Trainers will be able to participate in the maximum of 5 remote raids a day. Normally, you can do as many as your wallet allows you to. You could do 10, you could do 20. Some people could probably literally just spend their whole day just putting money into this machine and doing as many raids as they can. Now, they note that this maximum may change and increase for special events. So, like, maybe for, like, GoFest or, like, bigger events, maybe they might up it. But that doesn't mean, that could mean anything. They could up it to 6, they could up it to 10, they could update it to 100, you never know. But that's the main thing, 5 a day. So you can, if you want to remote raid, you can only remote raid up to 5 times a day. And you can still normally raid as much as you want normally. And about the passes, they will be included in the pool of potential rewards for research breakthroughs. Now, at first, this sounds like, that sounds like a good idea. But remote raids earned via breakthroughs will still be subject to the existing inventory limit of 3 remote raids per trainer. Now, I get why they have a limit of 3, but I don't like that. I really don't like that. I didn't like it back then because, like, regular raid passes, you could get hundreds of those if you want to, but the fact that you can only hold 3 still, like, really rubs me the wrong way. And I know why. It's because they don't want people to hoard them at the cheaper price, because it implies they're going to raise the price, but I still don't like that. If a trainer earns one with a premium limit, they'll receive a premium battle pass instead. But you can still hold up to 5 if you purchase it with 2 raid passes already in your inventory. Candy XL, only change. Trainers who participate in 5-star raids will earn more Candy XL than before. Now, that's such a small thing. They should have, like, if I were them, I would have just said, they will earn like 10 candies or something big, something to make you like worth your time to basically go out and do these raids in person. But nope, they just took the most bland sentence that could mean anything. Since their introduction in 2020, remote raid passes continue to dominate the experience of playing Pokemon Go in a way we never intended. Just funny to read it. They have come to dominate the experience of playing Pokemon Go in a way we never wanted it to. But rewarding trainers with additional Candy XL and other new features, what are the other new features? Which honestly, we can talk about these features later, but these are ways they hope to further incentivize playing Pokemon Go in person with your friends, family, and community. They're planning to keep remote raid passes as part of Pokemon Go. However, we believe this change is necessary for the long-term health of the game, and we do not make it lightly. We feel this is a necessary step towards our goal of preserving and improving the unique experience of playing Pokemon Go, a game we hope you continue to enjoy long into the future. Pokemon Go team. So, this was probably one of the worst updates I've ever read in Pokemon Go history. Now, let me go back to what Kirby said previously. So, basically, the title of this stream is this the end of Pokemon Go? Or is the remote raid nerf the end of Pokemon Go? A little hyperbolic, but you know what? It's some people are talking about it. But as Kirby was saying, it is a major L, and I don't remote raid 5 times a day, but Niantic isn't letting people enjoy the game the way they want to. Let me cover this up. And it's like a 5-year-old ranting about having to play with their toys their way. Then this was something we were concerned about for a while. So if y'all didn't know, after Go Fest, there was like a little line they added like for just a short while near the remote raid thing that said like, oh, you can use this up to X times a day. And this got people worried because why would you limit something that previously didn't have no limit? Kirby says, my mom plays Pokemon Go and she wants to do raids with me. She lives 30 minutes away. And I was like, yeah, $1 to get legendaries and stuff is chill. But now it's double the price. Yeah, so the price itself is a huge turnoff initially. So for one thing, it's a weird double-edged sword. So you're going to make everything people want to do more expensive, but at the same time, you're also limiting it. So there's a cap on how much one person can earn from it. At the same time, it's also a de-incentivization because you also want them to do it in person. But overall, they know this is 1,000,000% just a cut to their potential earnings from now on. They would rather cap this money in order to force people to go and do these in-person raids. Like I didn't raid 5 times a day. Like I think the most I've ever raided in one day was like 20. And this was for Darkrai. Oh no, was it? It might have been that much. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was for Darkrai because I was trying to get enough to power up my shiny 98% Darkrai. And I still didn't get enough, but I also just wanted more Darkrai because Darkrai's cool. And I just had the time, but generally no. And especially now, I don't remote raid too much unless it's a Pokemon I really, really want. So like, or a Pokemon I know is really good, at least in raids. I'm a PvE kind of person. I always like getting Pokemon that are stronger for raids. So that's what I prioritize. PvP is not my thing. This is a double-edged sword if both blades were towards us. Yeah, but at the same time, they're the ones who are choosing to get less money. Like, it's not entirely... Like, it's kind of a... Like, if they didn't want to... If they wanted to make the most money, they would have just raised the prices, but kept it that you could remote raid as much as you want. Because it's just double your income. But no, it's not exactly doubling your income, because... You're limiting it to only 5 raids a day, 5 Pokemon a day, basically. Yeah, money-wise, it's a double-edged sword. But it's interesting. It's so weird that a company is trying so hard to not make money. They care so much about their values, their intrinsic pillars. They're pillars of the game. Like, if y'all don't know, Niantic has like 3 pillars of what every game they want to be. Exercise, socialization, and exploration are their 3 pillars. So, but they care about those much more than the player base do. I'm in a pretty low area and raid days are still bumping. Like the Deoxys Day was at least 100 people at a mall. Oh, dang. Okay, so at least from my personal experience, raid hours used to be really, really good. Like I remember... Like back in, I think like 2018, 2019, I used to go to a local space after work and there were easily like up to 50, like usually like between 20, 30, 50 more people raiding at a time. It was like this big group in this area with a whole bunch of gyms. Some all used to walk around. Of course, after the pandemic, then that cut down and most people, and even now, even though the pandemic is quote unquote over, which I don't really want to talk about, but even now, going there, it's funny. I always, every time I do a raid hour at that spot, I always see the same 2 people walking outside, still choosing to walk outside. Everyone else is in cars. People still do the raids. I can still go there and get the raids done with like a few dozen people, but everyone is in their car. Like, or everyone is just remoting in. So... And I know there are probably bigger communities that I know there are bigger places where if I want to go raid these, then I can go. They're just a little farther than me, and I just don't want to have to drive that far. Basically, this is not a good... Like, we have been telling Niantic ever since we saw this in the actual game for a long time that this was not a good idea. And we were all kind of fearing it, as Kirby was saying. We knew this was going to happen eventually, but it always, like, shocks you when it happens. Like, I knew they were going to wait until after Hoenn Tour for this. Like, I obviously knew they couldn't do it in the middle of Hoenn Tour. Because I remember when they were trying to mess with the distance a few years ago, they did that, said that would be after Go Fest. And it kind of just snuck on everyone. Like, we knew it was coming, but we also didn't know it would be this bad. So, my hope when I first heard about this originally, like, however many weeks ago, was that, oh, maybe it'll be like, maybe like 50 coins more. And maybe there'll be like 10 remote raids a day. I think that would be okay, because it's still like, sure, it's like a little more taxed. But I see most people probably wouldn't do 10 raids a day. Because remember, 10 raids, that's also like another 2 minutes of waiting, another 1 minute of raiding, another how many minutes of like actually trying to catch the dang thing. So I could see like, maybe 10 would be fair. But 5 is like, ugh. And double the coins is just even more ugh. Like, just any limit at all is just a bad idea. Because, hey, some people really like certain Pokemon. But that's just hard caps everything right there. And something I always say when they always make these outlandish changes is, if you want to incentivize us, you really need to incentivize. Like, not just a little bit. Like, go the extra mile. Heck, go the extra multiple miles to get us to do the things you want us to do. And the only thing they say is, these passes will be slightly cheaper and you'll get more candy than before. That's so vague. That's so vague. Give us more in-person passes. Yes! Like, what if you could raid like 2 times a day or 3 times a day? Like, I know that was a bonus previously, but that's a good incentive to get you out and to do more things. Or, like, why not just give you, like, even more rewards than remote raiding it? Or one of my ideas was, why not just remote raid and you only get the chance to get the Pokemon, but you get all the extra rewards if you raid in person? Like, why not just that? I think that, like, some folks would be like, I mean, it'll be much better, or something like that. Or elite raids. Like, for elite raids, why not give out elite TMs? It's in the name. Like, it's literally right there. You named it. And elite raids are another problem. They're another issue that don't seem to work, but yeah, this is not a good look. This is definitely a dark day for Pokemon Go. And yeah, I have stuck to my guns. I have decided to not play the game for a little bit until maybe Togetic Day. I'll probably go out and catch some Togetic, because Togetic and Togekiss are good. But yeah, I was already kind of off Pokemon Go for a little bit anyway, especially after Hoenn Tour. Like, after playing like so much for so long, it kind of burns you out for a little bit. And especially since, in my opinion, this new season, the Season of Heroes, isn't too exciting, at least for me. I figure, I can take a break. Like, there's nothing that makes me want to keep playing right now. And especially after this, I'm definitely letting it sit. Because it's not like I'm going to lose anything for not playing the game. At least right now. Like, if it was like, oh, Mega Shiny Mewtwo is out now, then yeah, maybe I'd want to come back to the game or something like that. Or, oh no, it's a Snorunt only event, then sure, I'll get back in. But at least right now, I'm definitely not going to be playing Pokemon Go for a little bit. And especially since they just announced their April month, it's like, I don't see anything I really need here. But yeah, this is just not fun, not good at all. So I did want to go over another thing. They did share a little, where is it? Let me pull it up. But there was another interview they talked about. Yes, there was an interview from Eurogamer at the same time. So they knew something was coming, so they had someone. It's good they actually tried to get some press out of it. So I can actually pull that up right now too. There's an interview from Eurogamer, which historically is pretty good at keeping Niantic's feet to the fire. So it's by Tom Phillips. Pokemon Go developer teases blockbuster slate of summer features amidst major raid changes. Popular method of paying at home to be capped almost doubled in price. So actually, since this is all like this, I can probably better read it like this. But they basically talk about here. Niantic invited this guy to speak. They invited Tom to speak with veteran developer Ed Wu, the company's Pokemon Go VP, to talk over the decision in detail via an extensive Zoom chat. And we discussed the reasoning for these changes, why, in Niantic's eyes, remote raids have become too convenient a, quote, shortcut, and how many people will likely be affected, and as well as why this is happening now. So Wu looks to the future, teasing the carrots still to come of new features designed to entertain trainers on the local streets this summer. Finally, we finish up with a more general chat about features people are hoping to see on the horizon, including shadow raids and the eventual introduction of the Pokemon god Arceus. See, it's a big and meaningful change, as you might imagine. We've, of course, examined many alternatives. Well, after thinking carefully, what we're doing is simple. Generally speaking, the goal is to keep remote raids as part of Pokemon Go, but to do so in a sustainable way. The change is necessary for the long-term health of the game and our principles of getting folks outside and exploring the world together. World has largely moved back outdoors, and remote raid passes have come to dominate the overall experiences of playing in the way never intended. It's become essentially a shortcut to playing the game. We've seen an imbalance between the current price of remote raid passes is matched to the premium battle pass, which is distorting the game economy and making the game unsustainable. So, I want to stop things there. So, obviously, saying the game is unsustainable does not mean it at a financial standpoint, because they're clearly making millions of dollars. Like, their last few years have been their highest selling years. Like, after remote raids started as a thing, it's easily become some of their highest grossing years, like, ever. So they're totally talking about unsustainability, not in the terms of financially. They're talking in terms of their, like, core 3 pillars or core 3 values, that kind of thing. Simply put, with remote raids priced the same as in-person pass, since there's no incentive for raid together. Meanwhile, the ease of remote raids led people to raid far more than Niantic intended, unbalancing the availability of Pokemon and the app's endgame XL candy grind. This is an interesting sentence, because they're basically saying Pokemon are becoming too easy to get, and getting XL candy is becoming too easy to get, when in reality it's still hard. Like, sure, you can go onto like whatever app you want, you can go into any Discord and be like, hey, I want this Pokemon, and like minutes later people will be like, okay, got you, and then you basically get that Pokemon right then and there. So yeah, it is easier to do with that, but XL candy is, while it's not hard to get, it still takes a long time to get. Like, you're basically skipping the part of actually going to all these places to actually find said Pokemon. But they're saying they want this to be a challenge, which I don't think people want that. People don't want it to be hard. Like, they'll easily go for whatever's easier. And this is the part where they should, like, really incentivize, oh, like, here's, like, a bunch of bonuses to doing it in person. But they're really not pushing it that hard. We know this is a big change, and some folks have a strong reaction to that. We're very empathetic, but we really think this is the right thing for the overall long-term health of the game and their desire to make sure it's great for many, many years to come. Demi, welcome in. How are you doing? Are you planning on playing Diablo? No, I don't think I've ever talked about Diablo. Why? Is there a new Diablo game coming out, or is this a lead into a joke? Is this a lead into the joke I'm with? But we're currently talking about Pokemon Go right now and all their drama and all the bad stuff that's been happening over there. So I'm just reading this interview from Eurogamer. As a heavily engaged daily player, it's pretty unusual for me to use 5 remote raid passes in a day, and it remains to see how often Niantic will lift that cap, as it says it might for special events. I was keen to find out how many people Niantic expected to be impacted by the introduction of a cap, and how the company's own metrics showed the extent to which remote raiding was dominating the game currently. There's a wide variety. Okay. This paragraph, I was skimming this earlier. This paragraph was like, whew. There's a lot to unpack here. So I want to read this paragraph, like right here at the bottom. Or not even that, in the middle. Because this paragraph is like, what the heck? There's a wide variety of folks who play Pokemon Go. Generally speaking, the number of people who will be affected on the cap on a day-to-day basis is relatively small of the total set of folks who play our game. It's often sometimes useful to ground what the median player of Pokemon Go is, something I talk with the team all the time. The median player of Pokemon Go is probably someone like a Singaporean grandma who walks with her senior group for 30 to 60 minutes every morning as part of her exercise and social routine, who mostly focuses on catching Pokemon with her friends, and maybe very occasionally or maybe not at all raids. So they're basically saying, hey, you guys who are spending all the money, yeah. We know you're there, but we really focused on getting the ideal experience for this Singaporean grandma. Like these guys are the real audience. And yeah, that is true to an extent. There's a lot of casual folks who just play the game like whenever they want. Like, sure, like who don't read all these things, who don't care about these things. Like, okay, sure. That's valid, but that basically says like, hey, everyone else, like, yeah, y'all don't care because, sure, like, they really want this subset of people, but everyone else is like, nope, we don't need you. It's important to ground the fact that the vast majority of folks find a lot of value from the other parts of the game besides raiding. But the game balance and economics of Pokemon Go are being dominated by remote raids in a way we never intended. And for a segment of the player population, this is unsustainable. It constitutes a small part, but it's a player population we care about, as they are some of our most engaged players who have invested many years and much of their attention into the game. And it's important to make sure the game is balanced for all segments. So what they're trying to say is, people have basically used remote raids too much, that Niantic thinks, oh, they're playing too much of the game. They're enjoying the game too much, and they're getting through way more. They're catching Pokemon much faster than intended, and it means they're getting what they want much quicker than they intended, and we don't want that because, like, we don't have enough time to keep up, is what they're saying. So I'm really curious what they mean by game balance, because for a lot of people, Pokemon Go is a pretty solo game. Like, there is no, like, goal. You just kind of do what you want. So at that point, what economy, what balance is there? Because you can only trade Pokemon once with another person. So it's not like you can create this whole funnel of secret people underground, like, transferring Pokemon around and around and around. It's like, I don't know what that means by their economy. Because it's like, you can't sell things to other people. You can, like, is it because people are just getting the Pokemon once and being done and not playing it anymore? Is that what they mean? Do they want people to literally walk around everywhere on their phones, in their car, just to find the one Pokemon? Is that what they want? I think that's what they want. That's what they want. Okay, they're still going. What about the game's balance they're trying to fix? What is the alternative future Niantic is trying to avoid? Who brings up the way people raid in the past as Niantic's framework of thinking why they're unsustainable? When we debuted raids in 2017, the requirement to encounter and defeat a raid boss meant you had to gather several of your friends or colleagues and go out in the same place to a gym. Then once you defeated, if you wanted to walk with that group to try again, you had to walk 10, 15, 20 minutes to the next one together. Oops, my music looped. Of course, you could drive instead, but regardless, there was a journey there. and Niantic seems keen for raids to return to a state where they were more impactful and an experience, not just a gameplay loop you can complete 10 times in a row from your sofa. Okay. Let's see. Every game is about both the goal and the journey to the goal. The value folks may be thinking about geared towards that end goal. But the value they're deriving from the game comes from the journey to that goal, and remote raid passes are a shortcut through that entire journey. Okay. Shortcuts. So this makes sense if they're in an ideal world where the game is played in, where like, oh, there's a place with a bunch of gyms, a bunch of stops. But there's two main things, both the environment and the person. So like there are a lot of Pokemon Go places where that is not the case, where there are not gyms, where there's not a community, where you would literally you need to drive like even longer between gyms in order to find the spot, find what you want. So rural players are at a big disadvantage to the system. So because they're making it more expensive, they're basically saying like shoo remote rural players. They're basically saying like this game is not for you, which is not good. Second thing is people with disabilities, people who cannot walk 10, 15, 20 minutes to the next gym, people who are on wheelchairs, people who have trouble walking, people who can't walk at all, people who don't have a car to get from place to place, people who are sick. And technically, like, everyone is only temporarily physically able, because we will all over time like get worse and have trouble walking, have trouble speaking, seeing things. So it's able to say like, oh, I'm fine, and why do we have to worry about this? Like, no, like we won't live forever. Like we will get sick, we will be disabled in the future. So this does apply to all people. And Niantic is saying like, no, we only want to focus on this kind of experience. All these other experiences, we do not care about as much. Like, they can try, but we are making it very hard to have the experience we want you to do. But yeah, I don't like how they're using the word shortcuts, because people in this, there are disabled people. There are people who just do not have these things in their game. They can't get said things into their game. I lost where it was. Many games shortcut. But yeah, they're basically saying, hey, they want this style of gameplay loop where you do this to get this, to get this, to get this. So you walk to gym, you meet people, you do gym, you go to the next gym with people, you do it there, and then you do that, and repeat infinitely, instead of just sitting in the house, do raid, whatever raid you want, bing, bang, boom. See, that may be true, but it's fair to say the way people interact with Pokemon Go's gameplay loop has changed over time. Almost every bonus introduced in the early lockdown era has now been removed, which makes these changes now seem, at best, rather late. At worst, an attempt to tune the game back to a time where people have permanently moved on from. Remote raids are such a huge part of the game's economy and balance for a number of players that we want to be careful and thoughtful about approaching changes, which is why you double the price to make it less exciting and then even less accessible. One reason Niantic is optimistic is it seems in the recent introduction of in-person only raids, such as the Elite Raid events, which have brought people together for a new or ultra-rare species. Despite a bumpy rollout, Niantic's data shows people have put their shoes on and turned up. We need to ensure we are delivering on the promise of things like Elite Raids when we have meaningful, interesting new forms of gameplay out there in the real world. With the launch of Elite Raids, we were able to see the impact and see people come together. Not at the level of 2017, but one other thing that's really heartening is when we look at the data, folks who are heavily engaged in remote raid passes, the vast majority of them have also enraged in Elite Raids and real-life experiences. So, I have multiple beefs with this. First of all, there have only been 2 sets of Elite Raids. There have been the Hoopa Unbound raids, and there have been the Regidrago raids. both of those raids have had major problems. So a lot of folks have not been able to catch said things and experience it the way they want them to. Now, I have not done any elite raids. I have not done elite raids because I figured, well, there's probably going to be an issue, and I don't really care about the Pokemon so far. So I'm very curious how heavily engaged these people are. I mean, like, maybe it's true. Maybe people really like these. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I haven't done them. And again, this is just a tiny data point. Like, they've only done it for, what, 2-3 days? And the next one is coming up in a few weeks now. So I'm very curious to see what it will mean going forward. A proportion of people who remote raid exclusively and do not participate in real life activities are actually very, very small of the total player population, and one we see decreasing quite a bit over time. The world, I think, evolved and changed from year to year, and we're seeing those changes in our players and their excitement to engage again and going out into the real world. The timing is in part, yes, because we debuted these features, we've been able to see the impact, which, again, I've only done it a few times. I don't know why they're saying, oh, we've got all the data now from 2 days, as opposed to, like, the years remote raids have been in balance. It's like, they're really going off this tiny subset of data. Let's see. But I'm glad that Eurogamer's still, like, holding their feet to the fire. Even with this said, it still feels like today's announcement is more stick than carrot. Thankfully, Wu suggests that more is on the horizon to tempt players together over the coming months, and the game heads into its typically bustling summer schedule. These economic changes, it's not the majority of what the team is investing. One of the things that's exciting has led to the development of raids and our social trading and gifting features, as well as our buddy featured PvP, is that I hope we have a blockbuster state of summer features that rise to that level of importance to the game. Well, if that's such exciting, why not share some of them? Why not share some of them? Okay, for now, Wu points to recent features already in the game, like showing itself time left in the lobby without having to enter the lobby itself, as well as adding nearby view, number of lobbies people can go onto. And additionally, Niantic's social app Campfire will soon be released globally with new features currently in testing. Okay, so when is it going to be released? Like, if this app was out and people are using it already, like, it would definitely mitigate some of the problem. But the app is not fully out yet. You still need to get an invite from someone else to get into it. Let's see what else. I couldn't finish our chat without a quick question about Shadow Pokemon raids, an unannounced feature that's been seen in the files. Wu gives a very vague idea on how remote raids affect them financially. The goal here is not short-term revenue. Imposing a cap goes to show that's affecting money, even though we're raising prices. This is well balanced, where we really believe this is not going to create a short-term revenue impact for us. So they're saying, like, they believe it won't affect them financially. There's a long-run sustainability act, and that's the reason. One of the things that's really important to me is strengthen local communities, Campfire. And everything else is just kind of like nothing answers. But yeah, that's basically what the developer of Pokemon, one of the developers, Pokemon Go, its reasoning is. It's not good reasonings, but people have obviously been unhappy. So if I just search Pokemon Go on Twitter, you can just read through what folks are saying, just to get a sense of where everyone's at. But like people are upset. Like you know the Cowboy Caterpie guy, he's unhappy. Fleece King, clearly Niantic doesn't care or understand about the global and online community. And if it wasn't for friends and community, they would quit. But folks are very unhappy. See, Lutu was also going over the interview. And yeah, it's not a good interview. But man, not a good day for Pokemon Go. They're really... Now, I really like what this guy says. To summarize, Niantic is doubling the cost of playing Pokemon Go remotely and limiting how much you can play as a disability tax. If you can't leave your home or live in an inaccessible area, you can play what's going to cost you, and you can't play that much. Everyone's just mad. Like, some people are still talking about how it's a good idea. Oh, hey, she's live too, also talking about it. I kind of want to hear what she has to say too, at some point. But just to basically go over my thoughts again, to just kind of wrap things up, is, again, this will get people to stop playing the game. And, like, I understand you want people to go outside, like, and go meet people. It's in the name. We get it. I understand that. But every time over the last 5, 6, almost 7 years, there's a new feature, and Niantic's like, we don't want you to do this too much. They always, instead of incentivizing the other way a lot, they always make sure to cut as much of it down at their own hand as possible. So they always just, like, change it there. They never make it worth it to do it the way they want it to do, in my opinion. And I think if they want to make all these changes good, they need to make it worth it to do these in-person raids. Like, you want me to go outside, talk to people out there? Give me, like, 50,000 Stardust. Not just 5,000, 50,000. Like, tons of it. Like, you want me to go outside? Don't just give me 1 Rare Candy XL. Give me 5. Give me 5 Rare Candy XL. Give me a lot. Like, make the people who are sitting at home jealous that they're not going outside and doing the things they want to. But no, they'd rather do that and push all the people who are sick, people who are disabled, people who cannot leave their house out of the way, and saying, this game, we do not want you to play this game. You can still play this game, but you have to, but we are making it as minuscule as possible, or making the experience as bad as possible. So, and they're saying this, knowing that they're going to lose a lot of money for this. They're doing it not for the money, they're doing it for their long, grand vision of things. Like, they would rather have 5 people play it the way they want them to than 20 people playing, maybe they're playing in the way we don't want them to. And it very much shows that they do not, like, they understand that their community is going to be angry, but they're like, ooh, too bad. They're like, we're going to do it anyway. We're Niantic. We do what we want to do. And it's really interesting that they really want us to do it their way, when, like, Pokemon is still, like, the highest grossing thing in the world. Like, maybe they understand that and they're like, we're still gonna make a bunch of money, this is fine. But it really puts people off, really turns people off of the game, and, like, it's making me not want to play anymore. So, like, they would rather lose. It's so weird that they're like, it's fine to lose people over this change, this big change. And I'm like, why not just have both? Why not just incentivize in-person raids, but keep remote raids how they are? It's fine. Like, sure, you can raise the price. At least that makes sense. But Pokemon is just dead for me. Yeah, Pokemon is just in a, like, it's at the point where it's so all-encompassing as a brand, as a franchise, because it's made so much money. It's almost to the point where it's almost too far off from normal folks to understand. Like, it's really, like, corporatized in some ways, but almost not. It's almost, at least with Pokemon Go, it's almost like it's very much, we know better than you do. So either you're with us or you're against us, kind of thing. And at the same time, it is a free game. You don't need to do these things. But for a lot of people who play this game every day, who have literally have their lives changed, who've literally met people through this, who've made friends, who might have actually had started relationships, gotten married from this kind of thing, who've literally had their entire lives changed because of their game. For them to say, like, hey, all of those things don't matter anymore. So this, in a sense, is also like cutting community away too. Like all these apps that rely on all these communities that rely on remote raids, they're not going to work as well, or they're just cut off. There was actually a tweet from someone who said like, there's going to be a future where someone will not be able to meet up, will not be able to raid with people because they ran out of passes. And that's literally a loss of a communication. That's a loss of a potential community right there. Like someone already used their 5 remote raids and they're like, hey, new friend, why not raid with us? And they're like, sorry, I physically can't. Not because I'm out of money, but because I can't remote raid anymore. And that's a new problem right there. Like, what about those folks who literally can't meet up because not because they ran out of passes, but because they are locked out from doing a feature with them? Like, it's just so bad. It's not good, and it's not fun. It's not the game I want to play. Like, I'd rather play a game that at least lets me do things do what I want to do. It lets me have some control. That's the thing. We want some control. We want some choice. Like, we just want to be able to play the game how we want to play it. And they're so insistent on cutting off the gates to the castle just so they can control everything within their castle, then letting everyone in and getting all their money. Let's see, one last thing before I switch on over. Lord Up is doing a Twitter community roundtable on Sunday, April 2nd at 6 p.m. PST. So if there's obviously going to be more to say about this. I will most likely be there sharing my piece, or at least listening in. So if you also want to talk about this, go to the Pokemon Professor Net Twitter, and there's going to be a whole community discussion where anyone can drop in. Anyone can drop in and say their 2 cents. I bet it's going to be probably pretty heated in there. But, yeah. But, basically to go over what this has done for me is, I have uninstalled the game. I have uninstalled the game for now. I will probably reinstall it in a little bit, but I'll probably uninstall it again, and at least for this week, they're not getting anything from me. And that's fine. Because you know what? We got other games to play. We got Hi-Fi Rush. We got Kid Icarus Uprising. We got Legend of Zelda. We got, gosh dang, Tears of the Kingdom coming out in a month. So there's no shortage of games for me to play. And my money will go elsewhere. And heck, if I want to play more Pokemon, Scarlet and Violet came out just right there. There's still Pokemon Masters to play. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with not playing this game.